We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. There's something strange about silence. It's heavier when you've shared laughter in the same space. That night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at a half-eaten dinner that had gone cold hours ago. The clock ticked past 9 p.m., and the house felt emptier than it ever had. My name's Daniel Brooks, 35, operations manager at a mid-sized tech firm in Denver. I wasn't rich, but I'd built a steady, comfortable life. The kind of life I thought Madison, my wife of 4 years, appreciated. We had a rhythm: morning jogs, evening takeout, weekend hikes. Simple, predictable, safe. But somewhere along the line, the warmth faded. Madison used to kiss me like she meant it. Now it felt more like a formality before she grabbed her keys and rushed out the door. Lately, it was always "Work's been crazy, Dan," or "Carter needs me for another pitch." Carter, her department head, the guy with slick back hair, perfect teeth, and a reputation that made HR twitch. Madison brushed it off whenever I asked. "He's just intense about deadlines," she'd say, smiling too easily. I want to believe her. God, I really did. One night, while cleaning up the kitchen, I found a receipt from a restaurant downtown. 2 glasses of wine, 1 steak, 1 salmon, candle service. The timestamp read Wednesday, 9:14 p.m. She told me she was in the office late that night, preparing a presentation. I remember just standing there, the paper trembling slightly between my fingers, my chest tightening in a way that made it hard to breathe. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I waited, observed. She'd started wearing new perfume, the kind that lingered long after she'd left the room. She changed her phone password, said it was because of company policy. She started humming again, the same way she used when we first met. Except now, the melody didn't include me. One Friday evening, she came out of the bedroom in a beige dress I'd never seen before, saying, "Carter needs me to finalize the campaign deck tonight. He's being impossible." She kissed my cheek. Quick, distant, then grabbed her purse. "Don't wait up, okay?" Something about the way she said it, casual, rehearsed, made my stomach twist. I watched her taillights disappear down the street, and a cold realization hit me like a punch. She wasn't nervous about lying. She was comfortable with it. That night, I didn't go to bed. I sat in the living room with the TV off, staring at the dark reflection in the glass door. My mind replayed every recent argument, every laugh that didn't reach her eyes. At around 8:30, I remembered something, a detail most people would overlook. As operations manager, I had access to the company's internal security feed. It wasn't something I ever touched after hours, but my hand moved before I could second-guess it. I logged into the system. The office floors were dimly lit, almost empty. I clicked through the cameras one by one until I reached the conference room feed. And there she was, Madison, wearing that beige dress, sitting too close to Carter. Their laughter was silent, but I could feel the tension between them through the screen. Carter leaned closer, whispering something that made her smile, the same smile I used to live for. My fingers froze on a mouse. I couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't breathe. I watched until the blinds came down, blocking the rest of the view. I didn't need to see more. For a long time, I sat there, numb, staring at the screen that now reflected only my own expression, hollow, empty, and frighteningly calm. She didn't text until 10:50. Still working late. Don't wait up. I stared at it, every word cutting deeper. Then, with my heart steady and hands no longer shaking, I typed back. Funny. The office cameras show everyone left 2 hours ago. 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then came back again, then nothing. A few minutes later, her reply arrived. "Daniel, please, don't do anything stupid." I leaned back, exhaling slowly, a bitter smile tugging at my lips. Too late, because I'd already decided I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to chase her down or beg for answers. No, Madison was about to learn what real consequences looked like. And this time, the cameras would be the least of her worries. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds, painting gold stripes across the kitchen floor. Madison was already at the counter, hair tied up neatly, pouring coffee like nothing had happened. She wore that same polite smile, the one that used to feel warm but now looked rehearsed. "Morning," she said softly, not meeting my eyes. I smiled back. Morning. You get much sleep? She hesitated, just enough for me to notice. Not really. The project went late. Carter's impossible, as usual. I nodded, hiding the bitterness rising in my throat. Yeah, I can imagine. We sat together for breakfast, the clink of cutlery filling the air where laughter used to be. Every move she made seemed calculated, careful, like she was trying to keep the walls from collapsing. I played along, asking about her day, complimenting her hair, even offering to drop her off at work. She declined instantly, too quickly. It's fine, she said. Carter's picking me up. We have a meeting downtown. I gave a small, easy smile. Of course. Wouldn't want to make him late. Her eyes flicked up, searching mine, maybe wondering if I was hinting at something. I wasn't. Not yet. After she left, the house felt eerily still. I stood by the window, watching her get into his car, his hand brushing hers as she slid inside. My jaw tightened, but I didn't look away. Instead, I memorized it. Every detail. Because revenge wasn't about impulse. It was about precision. I spent that entire weekend planning, not angrily but methodically, like I was solving a complex puzzle. I gathered everything: screenshots, timestamps, security logs, even the meal receipts she thought I hadn't noticed. I printed each one, placing them neatly in a manila folder. Then I added a cover sheet. Performance review, Madison Brooks. It was poetic. She'd used her job as an excuse for betrayal. Her downfall would begin there too. Monday morning, I arrived at the office before anyone else. The security team greeted me casually as I walked through the glass doors. I nodded, calm and collected. Every step echoed like a countdown. I went straight to my desk and opened a shared folder in the internal network, one every department head could access. I uploaded the performance review file and flagged it for the HR director's attention. Inside were not only the office camera screenshots, but also recorded chat logs between Madison and Carter that I had quietly recovered through the audit system. They weren't explicit, but they were damning. The messages read like a slow confession of everything she'd been hiding: late-night strategy sessions, hotel bookings under company expense, Carter promising to reward her loyalty. When I finished, I leaned back and took a deep breath. I wasn't shaking anymore. There was no rage left, only clarity. By 9:15, the office buzzed with whispers. Madison walked in wearing her usual confidence, unaware that her world was seconds from imploding. Carter was already in the HR conference room, summoned for a compliance review. I stayed at my desk, sipping coffee, pretending to go over reports. Around 10 o'clock, the door to HR opened. Madison stepped out first, face pale as marble. Carter followed, silent, eyes on the floor. HR didn't yell. They didn't need to. The evidence spoke louder than any words. By noon, the entire office knew. When she returned home that evening, she looked smaller. Her shoulders hunched, eyes red, lips trembling as she whispered, "Daniel, I got suspended. Someone sent HR everything." I set my mug down gently. "Everything." She nodded. There were pictures, messages, even our billing records. Someone hacked it. I swear I didn't. Didn't what? I asked softly. Didn't cheat? Didn't lie to me for months. Her voice cracked. "Please, I made a mistake, okay? I was stupid. It didn't mean anything." I stood up, my tone calm, my face unreadable. "Madison, you called it working overtime. That's what you texted me, remember?" She froze. Her eyes widened as the realization hit her. You saw it." "I didn't just see it," I said, walking past her. "I managed the footage, the logs, and the systems you used to hide it. You forgot who your husband is, Madison. You didn't just cheat on me. You left digital fingerprints on every lie." Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Daniel, please, I can fix this. I'll quit, It's already fixed," I said coldly. "You just don't like the solution." I picked up the envelope from the counter, the one marked divorce petition, and placed it in front of her. Her knees buckled slightly as she stared at it, trembling. "I already filed," I continued quietly, "and I made sure Carter's wife got a copy of the same evidence HR did. I figured honesty should go around." Madison sank into a chair, covering her face as a sob escaped her. I didn't feel triumph. I felt free. I walked toward the door, pausing only once. "You told me not to do anything stupid," I said. Turns out, doing the smart thing hurt a lot more. Then I left. Out in the crisp Denver air, I felt the first true silence I'd known in months. Not the hollow kind that haunted me before, but a clean, empty quiet. The kind that meant something new could finally begin. 2 weeks passed. The house felt different without Madison's perfume hanging in the air or her heels tapping across the hardwood floors. Strangely enough, I didn't miss the sound. I missed the idea of what our marriage was supposed to be, not what it became. I'd moved into a smaller apartment downtown, one with bare walls and a view of the city skyline. Every morning, I made coffee, stood by the window, and just breathed. No pretending. No waiting for late-night texts that said, "Working late." But peace has its own kind of loneliness. Sometimes, I'd find myself reaching for the second mug out of habit or checking my phone when it buzzed, half expecting her name to pop up. It was strange how heartbreak didn't explode all at once. It faded like a slow bruise. At work, things had changed too. The HR investigation had exposed not just Madison and Carter's affair, but other internal violations he'd covered up. Carter was fired within days. Madison resigned quietly, her reputation left in pieces. People whispered in the hallways when my name came up, but no one dared ask. They all knew I'd uncovered the truth, and done it without a single outburst. That silence earned me a quiet kind of respect. One afternoon, my coworker and friend Alex stopped by my desk. "Man," he said, setting down a coffee, "you holding up okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just adjusting." He gave a low whistle. "Can't believe how she did you like that. You're taking it better than most people would." I gave a faint smile. That's because I stopped expecting apologies from people who enjoyed hurting me. He looked at me for a moment, then clapped my shoulder. "You'll come out of this stronger. Trust me." And maybe he was right, because for the first time in years, I started thinking about my life, not just ours. I began working out again, running before sunrise through the quiet Denver streets. The burn of my legs felt honest, real. I took a few online business courses at night, something I put off for years because Madison wanted time together. Now, that time belonged to me. But life has a way of circling back when you least expect it. One chilly Thursday evening, I got a message from an unknown number. "Daniel, please. I just need to talk." I didn't reply, but a few hours later, there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Madison stood there. Her once perfect hair was tied in a messy bun, her eyes red from crying. She held an envelope in her hands, her fingers trembling. "Can I come in?" she whispered. I didn't move aside. "What do you want, Madison?" "I lost everything," she said, her voice breaking. "My job, my friends, even my parents stopped talking to me after what happened. I needed to tell you I'm sorry. I know it doesn't change anything, but I had to say it." Her eyes searched mine, desperate for a flicker of forgiveness. I stood there, silent. The man she used to control with tears didn't exist anymore. Finally, I said, "Do you remember when I used to wait up for you? When I'd keep dinner warm because you said you were working late? You trained me to believe in your lies, Madison. I can't unlearn that." Tears welled in her eyes again. "I know, and you're right. I was selfish. I ruined something good because I wanted to feel wanted again. Carter made me feel seen, until it all fell apart. You didn't deserve any of it." Her words should have hurt, but they didn't. They sounded like someone else's story now. "I hope," I said quietly, "that someday you'll forgive yourself. Because I already have. But that doesn't mean I want you back." She nodded slowly, as if the weight of those words finally sank in. "I understand," she whispered. "I just needed to hear it." She placed the envelope on the floor by the door and turned to leave. When she was gone, I opened it. Inside was a note, short, shaky handwriting. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm sorry I couldn't be the same for you." I set it aside without another word. Closure didn't come with fireworks. It came quietly, like a sigh. Weeks turned into months. I threw myself into my work, volunteering with a local tech startup mentoring young programmers. One of them, a woman named Claire, was sharp, witty, and honest in a way that felt refreshing. We started grabbing coffee after meetings. Nothing romantic, just real conversation. For the first time in a long while, I found myself laughing again. One afternoon, as we sat in the cafe watching snow fall through the window, Claire asked, "Do you ever regret how you handled things with your ex?" I thought for a moment. "No," I said honestly. I regret trusting her more than she deserved. But handling it calmly, that was the one thing I got right. She smiled softly. then you've already won. I looked out the window, the city lights flickering against the falling snow. She was right. Winning wasn't about destroying someone else. It was about not letting their betrayal destroy you. That night, as I walked home, I passed by our old house, or what used to be ours. The curtains were drawn, the yard unkempt, the for sale sign faded by weather. I didn't stop. I didn't need to, because the chapter was already closed. And for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. Spring came early that year in Denver. The snow melted fast, leaving behind wet sidewalks and the smell of clean rain on pavement. By then, I'd moved forward more than I thought possible. My life wasn't perfect. It was honest. And after everything, that was enough. 3 months had passed since Madison last showed up at my door. I hadn't seen her, hadn't checked her social media, hadn't even heard her name around the office anymore. For the first time in years, she wasn't part of my world. But life, as I'd learned, has a strange way of circling back when you least expect it. It happened one quiet Saturday morning at a small cafe near my apartment. I'd gone there early to review a client proposal for a startup I'd been consulting. The place smelled like roasted beans and maple syrup, soft acoustic music playing in the background. I was mid-sip when I heard a familiar voice at the counter. Daniel. I turned. Madison stood there, thinner, quieter, almost unrecognizable. Her once glossy hair hung in loose waves, and the confident posture she always carried was gone. She looked fragile. Hey, I said carefully. Hi, she whispered, stepping closer. I didn't know you came here. I do now, I replied simply. She gave a faint smile, the kind people use to hide their discomfort. You look good. Happier. I nodded. I am. She hesitated, clutching a worn leather bag. I started working at a small firm across town. Nothing like before. I'm just doing basic marketing work, but it's a start. That's good, I said, meaning it. Starting over takes guts. She lowered her gaze, her voice trembling slightly. I want to thank you. For what? For not destroying me completely. You could have. You had every right. But you didn't. I looked at her for a long moment. Madison, I didn't want to destroy you. I just wanted the truth to stop hurting. Tears welled in her eyes. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope you found peace. I did, I said quietly. The moment I stopped trying to understand why you did it. She nodded slowly, her eyes glistening as she whispered, I'm glad. Then she gave me a sad, small smile and left. As she walked away, I realized something. I didn't feel anger or satisfaction or even pity, just closure. That night, I went for a drive through the old neighborhood. The sunset painted the sky gold and pink, soft light bouncing off the houses I used to know by heart. For a second, I thought about how far I'd come, from the man who waited by the door for his wife's return to the man who no longer needed to. When I got home, I found an envelope in my mailbox. No return address, just my name written in neat handwriting. Inside was a folded letter from Carter's wife, Rebecca. Daniel, I don't know you personally, but I wanted to thank you. Your honesty helped me walk away before I lost more years to a man who didn't value me. It was painful, but it gave me freedom, and that's worth everything. I hope you found peace too. I stood there, letter in hand, the city lights flickering outside my window. Peace. It had taken betrayal, anger, and silence, but yes, I had found it. Over the next few months, life began to feel fuller. The mentorship work grew into something real. The company I'd been helping asked me to join as a partner. And Claire, the woman I'd met at those volunteer sessions, became a steady part of my life. She was different, honest, grounded, the kind of person who didn't need grand gestures to prove her heart. With her, I didn't have to guess where I stood. One evening, we sat on my balcony watching the skyline fade into twilight. She turned to me and asked, Do you ever think about her? About Madison? I was quiet for a moment, then smiled faintly. Sometimes, but only as a lesson, not as a memory I want back. Claire reached over and took my hand. Then she didn't win. No, I said softly. She taught me what winning actually means. She smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. The city lights below shimmered like embers in the night. For years, I thought revenge would bring satisfaction, that watching someone fall would heal the pain they caused. But standing there with someone who saw me for who I truly was, I realized something deeper. The real revenge wasn't in destroying someone else's life. It was in rebuilding mine without them. A few weeks later, I saw Madison again, from a distance this time, outside a bookstore. She was sitting on a bench, reading, smiling faintly at a stray dog sniffing near her feet. She looked human again. Not the person who betrayed me, not the image of who she'd been, but someone who'd learned. And maybe that was enough. I didn't approach her. I didn't need to. Some stories don't need final conversations. They just fade quietly into peace. As I walked away, the sun dipped behind the city, painting the horizon in soft amber light. The man I used to be, the one who lived in doubt and silence, was gone. All that remained was a man who had finally learned to let go. And in that stillness, in that calm after the chaos, I whispered to myself, I'm free.